That's right. How you doing, guys?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, good to be back here with you.
Just curious, a couple of weeks out, what about this time that you really love, and you probably love it all, but what do you like a little less?
Great question.
Thank you.
What I like less is I don't see my wife and my kids as much. Right? Even in like preseason camp, it's harder because I mean we're going 7 days a week. And, we're going 6 a.m. till 10 p.m., 10:30 at night. We're in season. Thursday night's a little less. A home game on a Friday. I see them Friday evenings. Right? A home game on a Saturday. I'm seeing them Saturday morning, or if it's a night game, or if it's a noon kickoff. Right, so that's what I miss. Right? That's what I like the last. After coming off vacation where I was with them 24/7. Right. What do I like? Seeing those guys. Because what do I miss when I'm on vacation 24/7? Those guys. Being around the guys, being around the team, but also in this phase, right? Camp is about building. Right? What are we building? Right? How are we working to separate ourselves? We're kind of in a week of separation right now. Of jobs are being earned, right? So within position groups, within units side of the ball within the team, but also as a team, how are we handling this week differently? Because everybody's in the lull of camp. Everybody's in that practice 14, 15, right? Game's still 2 weeks away, right? How can we as a team separate ourselves as other people maybe are just going through the motions a little bit, right? We talk a lot about, it's not about what you do, it's about how you do it. Everybody's doing walkthroughs, everybody's lifting in the summer, everybody's doing OTAs. It's not what we're doing, it's how we do it. So how are we separating ourselves this week? That's the fun part.
I get it. Thank you for that.
Your position group had a ton of turnover over
Sure.
the offseason. As sort of a bird's eye view, where did the chips fall now that fall camp's progressing?
Yeah, great question. Don't have a great answer. There's some good things about that and bad things about that, right? That really right now it's a challenge of the guys to separate themselves, right, within the room. How are we separating ourselves? How are you separating yourself to earn a job? Right, and the biggest thing for a lot of those guys, I think, within the team, it's not. So many guys have shown flashes of why they're here. Right now, let's go be consistent in the performance of details and doing your job, right, to go earn the job. Right, and that's really the challenge for how can guys separate themselves right now? It's not that we know that you can't do it. Guys are here because we know they can. It's the consistency of performing and executing with details. Right, and then again, how you do it. Standard Coach Rossi talks about all the time. Right, just absolute elite, extreme effort.
How much you see from Isaac Smith right now?
Say again.
What do you see from Isaac Smith?
Yeah, just a big, strong, rugged dude. Right, I think Cam Williams is a lot the same way. Right, they're different body types. Right, you're always looking a little bit like as a carpenter. You got different tools in your toolbox. I think I've talked about that with you guys before. Right, Isaac Smith and Cam are big sledgehammers. Right, Anelu Lafayette, right? It might be a little bit different of he's a skill saw, right? You know what I mean? So you got different, tools for different jobs. But Isaac and Cam, both just big, strong, rugged dudes. I met with all those guys before we started camp. What am I looking forward to seeing out of you guys? What do we need to see out of you? And I told both those guys. They got here, late May, early June when we started workouts as a team. We were doing a bunch of underwear Olympics out there. Right, workouts in t-shirts and shorts. I told both of them, I'm looking forward to seeing you guys put your pads on, right? Going and playing football. So I think both those guys, have that type of big, physical, rugged presence. Both those guys put on over 20 pounds since they got here in June.
Did they show up in the scrimmage?
Yes, 100%, 100%. Steven, sorry. Yeah.
Oh, no, I was going to ask about the same guy. So how about Gillison? He was a guy that was hurt, I think, last year.
Yeah.
Where's he at now?
Gilly's a little bit, right? Different guys, different jobs, right? Gilly's a little bit your multi-purpose tool, right? Has a little bit of physicality, has a little bit of power to him, but it has a little bit of speed, quickness, agility to him too. So he kind of, just that, Leatherman tool you can pull out of your pocket, right? A little nod to my brother-in-law. Actually, his last name's Leatherman, so. But he's like that little Leatherman tool, right? That just has a little saw on it, has a little knife, has a little screwdriver, right? Kind of, jack of all trades, do a little bit of everything.
How about Santiago? We're talking like a crowbar at this point?
He probably falls into that same world a little bit, right? Has some physicality, has some stuff. Again, another guy when he got here, and I know you guys are going to talk to David in a little bit, but I think David reported here is like 220, low 220s. He's 255 now, right? Put on 35 pounds, so just development, nod to Coach McDonald, Nick, nutrition, just what they've done with these guys and their bodies and transforming them. I'm excited now. It's like I said about meeting with those guys, getting ready to let's go play.
With so much of this, I mean, pass rush has been one of the things. It's
Sure.
been a constant drumbeat, but special teams, you obviously lose Kim.
Yeah.
And Jonathan mentioned about the kickers battling some
Yeah.
injuries right now.
Yep.
I guess how much are you able to get done on special teams? And when you're 2 weeks out from a game, like what do you need to see? Not so much you want to see, but what do you need to see?
I think it's really the same thing. Back to the position battles, it's consistency. Guys that can go up, right? Everybody, this old coaching adage, right? Thing that the best ability is dependability and availability, right? Can we be dependable and available? But for those guys, it's getting to that point where they're really available and dependable. But whether that's from a physical health standpoint or a details execution, right? Dependable and available.
How have you guys been able to juggle that with
Yeah,
Tarek
Blake
and-
Sislow's done an awesome job coming in here, right, and really seen a lot of growth and development out of him. So it's allowed us really to have no hiccups in the operation. But even in preseason camp, so much of your special teams is still about core development, right? Details, fundamentals, right? Building those things, right? We have jugs machines out there that can shoot that thing 70 yards right on the kickoff, and we're fine. We can go cover and do what we need to do. So those guys are going to be good, right? Seeing progress in them every day, they're going to be in good shape.
How about Caden? I mean, he's obviously coming back from
Yeah.
a significant injury.
Yeah, it's a very significant injury, but definitely seeing again his progress. That ACL is a real thing. It takes time, and every guy responds to that. But I think he'll be ready to rock and roll when it's time to rock and roll.
Chad, would you guess you might use 2 kickers, one for kickoffs and one for place kicks?
I think that's still to be determined. Good question. Obviously, you look at Tarek Radio has been in games for us, right, and see reliability and dependability. Allow Coach KB to talk about a little bit more on the place kicking side of it, but I've seen those guys really in a good competition, certainly through camp.
You would always carry 2 kickers in
Oh,
both games
absolutely.
anyway, right?
Yeah,
You'd have
absolutely.
to.
Yeah, you have to have them. Yeah, have to have them.
Do you think long snapper is a little bit overlooked as a position? Because I felt like at times last season it might have been.
Sure, 100%. Yeah, when Caden went down, right, we suffered some consequences from it. So it's those guys are a little bit like O-liner. I know you guys are talking about Holocheck, right? A little like, right? Nobody talks about them until something doesn't go right. They're kind of those unsung heroes. If it ain't going right, you notice them. If it's going right, nobody says a daggum thing about them.
I think you guys worked with Sam last year.
Yeah,
doing
Sam's
some of that.
dependable, reliable guy, and we've got another group of guys. We got some good
Yeah, I
athletes
was
on
gonna
our
say,
football team.
who are the guys, just in case of an injury,
Yeah.
in case of
Well, first of all, Jack Wills has done an awesome job coming in, right? Really, a lot of confidence in Jack. Highly rated recruit out of high school here in state. Love the fact to get a young man like him an hour away over there in Hudsonville. Jack's done. I mean, guys like Brendan Pearcheck. I mean, Leonard IU, right? Just some really good athletes can just put their head down there, flip it back, and you're like, doesn't look that hard. Then you go try to do it, and it's like, wait a minute, that's way harder than you think it is. So we got a good group of guys and they're working at it almost every day after practice. Just so if bomb ever goes off, you're always ready for it.
the coverage side of that from a long snapper? Because I think back to like Tabor Pepper. I mean, that was
Yeah.
something that like he was able to get downfield and make tackles.
Sure.
In that position.
Yeah.
I mean, is it more about delivery, or how much does that play into it?
First job of punt is get the ball kicked, right? That's first job. So right, the first priority is right snap execution. But if you got a guy, again, Jack Wills is a great example. I mean, played tight end on his high school team. That has athleticism, get down there and have an impact on it. I mean, now you're starting to stack chips a little bit.
What about Eckley? Like it seems like he accomplished a lot
Yeah.
last season. Now he's coming back. Where's the bar set for him?
Sure, I think for him it's just in a lot of the situational things. Okay, all right, what type of punt do we want? Right, is this a flip the field punt? Is this a hang time situation? Right, obviously you get into your pin territories, right? Or is this a this returner, man, this is a location day. I think that's kind of the next step for him. It's just what types of kicks, and we're practicing that even on our scripts. Like we'll give him, hey, we got this call, we're working this kick. We want this type, right? We're kicking this direction, but we want this type of kick, right? So that mental game for him. And Joe Begnall's doing a great job with him and some game situation stuff, right? They're working as specialists, just putting them in game situations. So when the moment arises, the moment's not too big for them, and they've gone through all those mental processes.
Is that teaching? Is that teaching with a punter with a big leg?
100%.
Is that-
not
you know, is that-
everything needs to be a 60-yard bomb.
Yeah,
Right.
is that-
Sometimes 50
but like
yards in that
from an
location
education
is-
standpoint in that, I mean, because guys just want to go out. It's like hitting your driver almost.
Yeah, 100%. That's it. That's exactly it, right? It's like sometimes it's like, hey, I need to play the 3-wood. I need to play the draw. I need to play the fade. Right? Like it's very similar to, like, what's the shot selection for those guys?
Coach Laney kind of talked about this, but how do you keep them disciplined when going against a mobile quarterback like Aiden? Who's
Yeah,
a
that's
different
right. That's
super-
we've talked about this before, right? Every week is a unique rush plan, right? You know, you played Castellanos from Boston College was a different rush plan, similar to the kid that was at Florida Atlantic compared to Callie McNanas from Rutgers, right? You know, different rush plans for those guys. So, Aiden, you have to have some of that rush mentality, rushing four as one for sure. You can't get past levels of the quarterback. Am I able to counter at depth, right? Those things, because you give that kid a crease, right? And he's a little bit different even than Castellanos, because he's sitting there, whatever he is, 6'4", 225 pounds, and different athlete, running through there too. So yeah, but that's a great thing for our guys in camp, is to be able to have that rush discipline for sure.
We've heard a lot about Alessio too. He's a little more pocket guy.
A little
Does that
bit.
give you
He's
guys a
a
look?
sneaky athlete though.
But does that give you guys a different look?
It does.
than Aiden?
It does, right? Yeah, absolutely. As you go through camp, that's what you're right. Camp's all about preparing for the season, right? And so to be able to see different types of quarterbacks, it prepares you for different types of season. And no different, like, we talk about the running backs. Okay, right? You got running backs every week, right? That's a thunder and lightning guy, right? This guy's a bounce out guy, right? Or this guy's a pounder, right? Like, well, I got to play those, right? A base block a little bit differently against the pounders, right? I got to sit on it more, and right, and play a base block a little different, right? Than the guy that's going to bounce and cut, So it's good, from our backs, to be able to see those type of things, or the quarterback, whoever that is.
When you have a lot of the new faces, I know we just talked about earlier. I'm curious, when you have stats like last year, I think it was 2 sacks in the final 8 games or something like that. How personally do they take that when it's not really there?
I take it personal. I'll tell you that much, right? And Coach Rossi, I know, has talked to you guys too, right? It's really 3 things. One, personnel. Right? The room turned over a little bit, right? That personnel driven, right? Anelu Lafayette, right? I mean, this kid's got juice. He's got juice. Okay, excited to watch him, right? How we built, right, and work with him through the season. But Anelu's going to rush differently than Isaac and Cam, right? And I spent time in preseason camp grabbing all these guys after the walkthroughs at night, and right, each one of them, right, let's sit for 30 minutes, watch, right, build your individual plan, right? Even today, individual period, I had a period like it was a you call it period. What are you working on? Right, and they do a drill for that, right, and we work a different situation because, Santiago's going to rush different than Gilly, and Gilly's going to rush different than Cam, and so let those guys, again, there's different tools in the tool belt, but they got to be able to build for what their strength is as a pass rusher.
Thanks, Coach.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.